So this Knife Thoughts video is going to be on this knife. This is a pretty cool knife, kind of a unique knife that I'm excited to be able to check out and show off in a video here. As always, if you're interested in other knives like this, as well as knife topics and things like that, check out my website, knifethoughts.com, where I post articles and also links to my social media. And check out my social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, even on Reddit now, at Knife Thoughts. But to start out, I got this knife recently at a gun show, and I don't really have a whole lot of luck going to gun shows and, flea markets and things like that. Usually things are overpriced if they have any chance of finding it online and seeing, a high price for it. That's one of the things that everything being online, and especially on eBay, where you see the highest price that someone's willing to pay, has done. It's made it so that if there's anything to help you look it up and you have the time to just type it into eBay, you can find that highest price and then set it at that price. Now, actually, at this gun show, I found a few knives for good prices. Couple, just good deals on modern knives. Not a whole lot of traditional knives at this one, but found this and one other Spyderco that I'm also going to do a video and hopefully an article on, and I wanted to show it off. So, what is this? Well, if you're familiar with Spyderco, you probably know that this is a police model. So it's one of Spyderco's oldest and most well-loved models. It's a very large knife. To compare it to a Spyderco Native, you can see it's significantly bigger. The Native has a 3-inch blade, so it's about a 4.5-inch blade on the police. And I've always really liked the police model. This video isn't really about the police model overall, but the police model was actually one of the knives that got me interested in knives in general. My uncle carried a Spyderco police for a long time, and I always thought it was really cool. He ended up losing it in his job, and I always really liked it, wanted one when I was younger. It's a heck of a big knife for someone who isn't, in the police, or isn't, I guess, an adult who can carry whatever kind of knife they want and, use it how they see fit, as long as they're not hurting people and stuff. So I didn't get a police actually until a couple years ago. But it's a model that I've always thought was really cool. One of Spyderco's, again, oldest, most longest continually run knives, although they have updated it several times. And just a really cool knife, a very long, skinny knife. But this is a unique police model in the sense that it has this engraving or etching on the blade from the factory. So, as I said, it's the police model, and you can see right away that this is an acronym for PIG. And it's kind of this really funny, kind of tongue-in-cheek way of turning around that negative, derogatory term for police officers into a positive by having it stand for pride, integrity, guts. So a really cool thing, one of those things that I think is one of those quirky things that Spyderco does that is part of why I like them and why I think a lot of people like them, is that they're willing to do those kind of off-the-wall things, like add this unique etching onto the blade. And it's something that I wanted to show this to a few friends of mine who are police officers or law enforcement officers, and I think they'd get a kick out of it. But it's a unique knife also because these were only made in, I believe, in 1986. The Spyderco wiki says 1984 to 1986. So somewhere in that 1984 to 1986. So it's a really old knife. It's a, what is that, coming up on 45 years old? So an old knife for sure, and if I didn't get that right, I'm not good at math at all. But an old knife, and one that kind of you don't ever see. I think I had seen one picture of one of these before, and that's why I noticed this right away when I saw it on the table at the gun show. And the story behind this at this gun show was that a detective was moving from where I am in Pennsylvania to California and couldn't take all of his, ammunition and guns and knives and things like that with him. And so they were selling them, which is kind of sad in a way, to be honest. I was a little bit, sad to hear that. I would never want someone to have to sell their well-loved knives and tools and stuff. But it was also an opportunity for me to get them as someone who's going to appreciate them. So that's how I came into this. And not only is it an old knife that you don't see very often, but it's a relatively rare knife also for Spyderco. They did 2,400 of these, which isn't a tiny number for sure, especially in the realm of traditional knives, which I am more into or make more videos on at least. But in Spyderco, that is a pretty short run, especially considering relative to current runs. So it's a smaller run, and not only that, but that's the entire run. They did plain edge and serrated edge. You can see that this is the serrated. And they also did a left and a right-handed version. This is the right-handed version. About 80% were right-handed and about 20 were left-handed. So it's a relatively rare knife on top of being an old knife. So it's one that when I noticed what it was and confirmed it by looking it up, I wanted to get it. Now, being that it is almost 40 years old, it's in pretty good shape actually. In fact, I would say really good shape for that age. One thing, the clip is a little bit bent, a little bit loose. Not a huge deal. This is one of Spyderco's older clips. You can see that it doesn't use the torque screws like they do now. But the clip is a little bit bent. Actually, the action is really nice. I'm not sure if it's going to drop closed here, but once you get it past a little bump there, it's really smooth, easy to open one-handed and close one-handed with that nice Spyderco mid-lock. It sits, pretty well centered in the handle. And in fact, which is the biggest surprise to me, it seems to have the factory edge. Now I want to show this up close if I can. These serrations look pretty much factory to me. Now, what I'm noticing might not be factory is the plain edge portion. I noticed that because, and I hadn't noticed this previously, there is a little bit of grinding there at the tops of those serrations. And so I think that they might have ground this here, this plain edge part. But the serrations look like factory serrations. They don't look to be used too much or resharpened. The other thing here is that the tip has this weird almost cut off or grind. Now, I don't think that that's factory, but it looks purposefully done. I'm not sure if they did that when they reground this or if it was, I'm not sure that it was resharpened or whatever. Reground, resharpened, either way, re-apexed. I'm not sure of that, but it does somewhat look like it. But I hope you can see what I'm talking about. There's just a little spot where instead of the edge continuing the whole way, it does have kind of an angle there. Now again, hard to be sure what brought that about, whether it was something that they chipped the tip slightly or that it was purposefully done, or being that this is an older knife, I doubt this is the case, or it's possible that it came from Spyderco that way, being that it is one of the earliest Spyderco knives. So not sure on that, but the serrations at least look pretty new, and the blade is in real good shape. You can see it has chamfering on the spider hole, as not all Spydercos do. And the handles have, some scuffs and scratches, which is really hard to avoid on these stainless steel knives. Even just like setting on a table, these can get these scratches, but it's not too bad, no big gouges or anything. So pretty good shape overall, especially for let's see, it's 2020, so 34 to 36-year-old knife. So I was off by a decade there. Oh well. So really, I think good shape for its age, and a really interesting cool knife. One that I'm really happy to have gotten the chance to check out and make a video on here, because you don't see it very often at all. So if you're a Spyderco police knife fan, this is one that's probably exciting for you. I'm hoping to write an article on this, so again, please check out my website, knifethoughts.com, and subscribe there via email. That way you get updates when I do post new articles. Also, check out my Instagram, where I'll be posting pictures of this knife, and I've got lots of other pictures and everything. And all other social media, Facebook and such, all at Knife Thoughts. And as always, don't forget to go out and do good.